Imagine I told you that most people aren't broken by what happens to them, but by how loudly their mind is ringing when it does. You wake up, and before the world ever says anything, your mind is already yelling worry, regret, rage, doubt, a cacophony of sound that never ceases. You attempt to find peace in scrolling, in fleeing, in pretending. But inside, you know, the more you turn away from the noise, the louder it becomes. Stoics referred to this turmoil as the storm within. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Things haven't changed, we just have different distractions now. Their wars were with war and loss back then. Our wars are with thoughts and screens now. But the rule doesn't change. Peace does not result from quiet around you. It results from quiet inside of you. Stillness isn't weakness. It is power in control. It is being able to sense the storm and be unshaken. It is not the lack of feeling, it is mastery of it. It is the Stoic principle of stillness. You see, everybody desires control over life, over individuals, over situations. But the Stoics were aware of the reality. Power is an illusion. But one location, your mind, Epictetus taught. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Most people react to everything. They give away their serenity like coins to panhandlers. Someone insults them and they give away their calm, a small failure, and they give away their self-confidence. They live their lives purchasing chaos, and they wonder why they never get peace. The Stoic does not do that. The Stoic watches. He is attracted to emotion, but he doesn't act on it. He lets the storm rage, and rather than resist it, he becomes quiet. Because quiet isn't passive, it is impeccable awareness. It is deciding not to respond when everything within you is screaming to. You can feel it, can't you? That restless you that yearns to respond to every insult, debate every falsehood, explicate every truth. That is the tempest, and the law of quietness dictates, do nothing. Not because you don't care, but because harmony is more precious than ego. Marcus Aurelius taught, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Your estimate. You get to decide how powerful something is in your life. Every argument, every postponement, every betrayal, all of them lose their hold the moment you stop assigning them meaning. Quiet doesn't mean quiet for all time. It means to move only when movement is advantageous. It means to realize that emotion is a guest, not a tyrant. When you are quiet, you get to select your response rather than acting blindly. That is where power resides. Seneca wrote once, "He who is brave is free." Bravery isn't in war, it is in restraint. It is the bravery to remain calm while the world screams for madness. It is the declaration, I will not give my peace away today. But here is the reality that stings. You can't pretend to be still. You can't pretend to be calm when your soul is crying out. You must create it, moment by moment, thought by thought. The Stoics prepared for this morning and evening. They didn't wait for calm to show up. They created it with discipline. So next time life gets you riled up, stop, breathe. Don't respond immediately. Don't defend, don't pursue. Make silence your primary language. Because quiet is not about avoiding life. It is about being in control of yourself in it. This is where the Stoic journey starts. Not at the mercy of other people, but at command of the self. And when you get that under your belt, something shifts. The storm arrives anyway, but it no longer owns you. The storm is always coming when you don't see it coming. Sometimes it comes in the form of a person, sometimes as failure, sometimes a little voice in your own head telling you you are not enough. That is where most people crumble. They battle the storm, yell at it, or flee from it, but the Stoic remains immobile. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Be like the rock against which the waves continually break. It stands firm, and the raging sea falls still around it. That is the picture of a Stoic mind, a rock unshaken by the water that pounds over it. It doesn't end the storm. It just refuses to be molded by it. You can sense it in your life, can't you? Someone lies about you, and your immediate reaction is to reply. Someone insults you, and you see that to defend yourself, but with every reply you sacrifice a bit of the stillness you are attempting to create. Because real strength doesn't have to demonstrate, it only has to stay calm. The Stoics refer to this practice as apatheia, not numbness, not apathy, but control over emotional disturbance. It is the practice of remaining intact in a world that is unraveling. Epictetus taught, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. That is the law. That is the quiet. It is that you can be betrayed and not be torn apart. You can fail and retain your dignity. You can love with abandon and still release with poise when life advises it is time. Quiet doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let what you feel control you. You begin to see feelings for what they are. Surface waves on the sea of your soul. They arise, they break, and they dissipate. The Stoic understands the water is never the problem. The problem is that you imagine yourself to be the water. Most humans live imprisoned in reaction. They rage and call it passion. They become jealous and label it love. They become loud and label it strength. But strength does not need to yell. It is quiet. It is patient. It is still. And that is why it scares people, because silence cannot be mastered. When you cultivate stillness, you no longer react to everything that consumes your energy. You begin to see clearly. You start asking, is this worth my peace? Most of the time it isn't. That silence, that one breath before you respond, that is where the Stoic resides. Seneca once said, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Stillness isn't created in ease. It is created in discomfort. In the instant, your instincts yell to respond, and you do nothing at all. You breathe. You watch. You remain present. That's how warriors are built. Not in battlefields, but in silence. You want to master stillness. Practice when it's hardest. When someone shouts, lower your voice. When your plans fall apart, steady your breath. When the world tries to provoke you, smile. That smile isn't denial. It's defiance, it says. You can't reach me anymore. And yes, the world will test that calm. It will call your peace weakness. It will call your silent submission. Let it. The Stoic doesn't exist for the validation of others. He exists for his standards. Quietness is his act of defiance in a world obsessed with reaction, because the truth is, the one who yells the loudest in the room is not usually the one who is the strongest. The one who remains calm when all burn around him, that is the one who earns respect. When you learn to do that, you begin to perceive the storm differently. You cease to look at chaos as punishment and begin to view it as training. And that is the second law of stillness. Don't resist the storm. Let it mold you, not break you. Every test, every insult, every failure, it is not here to ruin your peace. It is here to challenge it. And when you come out on top, something changes. The noise recedes. The thoughts lose their burden. And what remains is a stillness type of strength that cannot be removed. The storm does not cease ever. It merely alters form. One day it is the world screaming in your face. The next, it is your very thoughts speaking softly into your mind. You may not quiet the world, but you can quiet your response to it. That is the ultimate level of stillness. Not mastery of affairs, but mastery of self. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is not philosophy. That is freedom, all of that other stuff outside of you. Loss, delay, betrayal, failure. None of it dictates your peace unless you allow it to. Stillness is learning to allow life to occur without losing your center. The Stoic arises each morning, anticipating storms. He understands the world will not be just. He understands suffering will arise, and yet he moves with a peace that bewilders chaos itself. Because peace doesn't follow the storm. It is constructed in the middle of it, you understand. When you are really still, nothing has you anymore. Not anger, not ego, not fear. You cease to pursue things to quiet the din, because you understand the din was never out there. It was within you all along. Stillness is clarity. It is moving with intention rather than impulse. It is not faking toughness. It is becoming tough quietly, without fanfare. Seneca taught that to be calm is the highest achievement of the self. And that is the law of stillness. Calm isn't what ensues when things are easy. It is what ensues when your soul is unmoved by trouble. When you master standing there, breathing through hurt, listening before speaking, acting with logic rather than anger, you become untouchable. Not because life no longer tests you, but because you no longer let the test rule you. Think about it. How many times have you lost your peace over things that weren't worth it? The message you overthought, the person who never responded, the error you committed months ago. We nourish our storms every day. Then we ask ourselves why we're sinking. But the Stoic, he doesn't feed them. He watches them until they waste away, because what you don't respond to, you transcend. The Stoic principle of stillness isn't about becoming numb. It is about becoming centered, so deeply that nothing outside can disturb what is within. It is about trading panic for presence, noise for knowing, fear for focus. It is about moving through chaos like a mountain, quiet, steady, unbroken. And when you live like that, people see, not because you yell, but because you don't have to. Your calmness becomes strength. Your silence turns into power. Your serenity turns into a contagion. And the world, so needy for noise, begins to mellow out when you walk into the room. Stillness is not the lack of movement. It is the presence of control. It is the space between the reaction to life and the response to it with wisdom. It is the time you quit allowing your emotions to drag you in the mud and begin allowing your principles to guide you. Marcus Aurelius experienced betrayal, death, and war, and he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So think calmly, move slowly, speak rarely, because the calmer you get, the clearer life gets. That is how you tame the inner storm, not by quieting the world, but by reigning in yourself. Remember this truth: quiet isn't a place. It is a discipline, each breath, each pause, every decision not to respond. That is how you discipline it, and the more you discipline it, the less the storm can reach you. This is Stoice Resto, where minds are disciplined, not entertained. If this message caught you in the midst of turmoil, let it serve as a reminder. The storm was never against you. It was your trial. Like this video if it provided you with peace in the chaos. Share with someone who is still battling their storm. And comment this truth: my peace is my power.